Okay, a short video to explain the taking of the Vespa 400 engine out of your car and starting procedure. Here we see the Vespa 400 engine. We would be standing behind the car at this point. There's only 3 bolts that holds the engine to the transaxle. The first one is behind the exhaust manifold. It is a bolt that goes in through the transaxle and also holds one end of the starter on. You would loosen this bolt up and slide this bolt back until it hits the exhaust manifold. You would then go to the other side of the car, and underneath where the fan throws out the hot air, you look up and there is a bolt that sticks out here with a nut on it at about what would be considered about the 10 o'clock position on the engine. Then the last remaining bolt is on the very bottom, which would be about the 6 o'clock position. Once these 3 bolts have been removed, the engine can slide out of the transaxle. Those 3 bolts. There is no motor mount to the engine. The engine mounts to the transaxle, and then the mount for the transaxle is what holds the engine and the transaxle in place. Once you get those 3 out, you would be able to pull the engine out. To unwire the car, there's only 2 wires that go to the 2 separate coils, one on each side here, and they are removable. You pull those out and remove them. The set of points to your left is the set of points that controls the closest cylinder to you, which is number 1. The points on the left-hand side control number 1. The points on the right-hand side control number 2. And then these wires are color-coded, and where they go to the coils, then you can respectively decide which plug wire goes to which spark plug. Like I said, the one closest to the back is the number 1 cylinder, and this is number 2. So whichever colored wire you have to the points on the left hand side goes to a coil, and then that coil wire will come to the cylinder closest to the back end of the car. Very easily removed engine and everything. So let's plug it back up. Let's act like we are going to start the engine. So we've got our blue wire is to the left, to the number 1. So where the blue wire hooks to the coil on this coil, then this coil wire will go to the number 1 cylinder in the back. Okay, we've got our engine sitting here. We've got everything hooked up and wired up. The engine is warm, so to start the engine at this particular time, all we would need is the ignition turned on, and there would be no need to choke the engine. That all you would have to really basically do is to hit the starter, and the engine will fire up and run. If the engine were cold, what you would want to do in the start procedure is to turn the key on and pull the starter, but you would pull the choke mechanism. You wouldn't give it gas. You would pull the choke mechanism until it fired. Now this engine does put the gas in through the crankcase, and then it is slung up and into the cylinder. So it takes a few seconds when the engine is cold to pull it through, but you would just basically, you would pull the choke mechanism on, let it fire up and run. You would start easing the choke off. The engine will not idle correctly until the engine has warmed up, and engine warming up is not a fast procedure. It does take a few minutes. Normally we try to drive the car about 2 or 3 miles before we would set the level of the idle, because the idle would be way too high when the engine got really warm. So basically that's the setup procedure of the Vespa 400.